MCI, you can place the same call to the same place and talk the same length of time for a lot less money. Or you can talk a lot longer for the same money. Take a little jingle out of Bell's pockets. Call MCI. You haven't been talking too much, just paying too much.
KSTP TV, St. Paul, Minneapolis, Channel 5.
I'm June Lindsay.
And I'm Bob Bruce. This afternoon on Good Company, we'll meet Dr. Burton White, who'll tell us about our baby's early development.
And our bargain hunter, Vicki Audette, with some advice on how to pamper yourself on a budget.
That's right, and Kathleen Morris, the prosecuting attorney from the Cermak family trial.
Great. And also we're going to discover the Boundary Water Canoe area of Minnesota. All that's coming up next on Good Company.
From the Twin Cities, it's Good Company. With your hosts, Steve Edelman and Sharon Anderson. With roving reporter Gary Lumpkin. And the Good Company Company.
Well, welcome. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Steve and Sharon are not here again today. They are still on vacation. This is going to be our last day.
That's right, but it's been fun. Nice
It
getting
has
to know
been
you.
fun.
Can I ask you a question?
I don't know about getting up at 8 o'clock in the morning, because I'm usually a lot later,
You're
but,
used to the night shift,
yes.
aren't you? We'll kind of prop you up to wake you up here. I have a question. I heard you say something earlier this week when we were talking backstage. You said you majored in football in college. Did you
That's
really?
right. No, I majored in football and young ladies, but that's probably why my grades weren't exactly the greatest. But
Mine are
no, I've
young
always
ladies.
been involved in sports ever since I was a little guy, and it's kind of unusual because my father really wasn't into sports very much, and I had 3 sisters. I didn't have a brother, so I think the reason I got involved in sports is that I always wanted to have a brother. And by being on football teams and everything, I was around other guys, and because I didn't like playing with dolls and stuff,
I wonder why. That's a funny thing about that, huh?
Well, I'll tell you, a couple of my sisters, they were pretty tough. We used to play some football in the backyard, and they were right in there.
All right, good for them. What do you do to stay in shape now?
Well, now to stay in shape, I play a lot of ice hockey, believe it or not. I learned to skate about 3 years ago. I don't skate very well.
Just 3 years ago, really?
Yes, but I do play in a Friday night league with a bunch of other guys from KSTP. Rob Lear plays goal. We're undefeated, and we've been.
Who do you play though? That's the question.
Well, we have a couple other teams in the league. We play it. It's funny because how many sane people would play hockey at 11 o'clock? We have games, and at 12:15 at night. So
no one
like,
I know.
This Friday we'll get through at like 1:15, 1:30 in the morning playing hockey. So, but the hockey and just running and just generally, I like to do a lot of different sports. But hockey, I tell you, is a great conditioner.
Oh, I suppose. Absolutely.
My wife thinks I'm a little nuts, but
Strong ankles. Well, now you heard it here, folks, and you know the fact. Bob Bruce really is into what he does for a living.
Well, we have a good time. At least we try to.
Well, that's what counts. Anyway, I've had a great time here this week. It's been fun.
It's been fun.
Yeah.
I mean, in
enjoyed
sports, in the sports office, we don't often have chances to talk to women who've undergone stomach stapling surgery.
No, that doesn't come up under the topic of sports too much.
Talk about toys for your infants,
right?
Which it's kind of fun to do some different things. And of course, with you get to do a lot of different things.
Oh, sure. Yeah, we'll show you more about that in a little while. But for instance, we're going to try something really different in just a few minutes. But
I'm looking forward to this.
Yeah, you're going to love it. This time of year, you're so busy shopping for everyone else. It's kind of hard to take time out for yourself, but our bargain hunter, Vicki Audette, says, yes, you should pamper yourself during the holidays. She has got some advice on how you can pamper yourself for a lot less money than you might think. We've got a report coming up from her right now, how you can pamper yourself for less than $15.
Are you one of these people who feels guilty about treating yourself, especially when money is tight? Well, today I'm going to show you how you can treat yourself to a beauty makeover, a haircut, and a body massage, all for less than $15. Makeup experts say that any woman can be beautiful if she knows how to bring out her good features and play down the flaws. Well, that's exactly what makeup specialist Carol Britton does for you. She gives you a 45-minute beauty instruction, and your cost is to buy $15 worth of cosmetics. In the long run, a professional beauty instructor will help you avoid making costly buying mistakes. Carol will show you exactly what makeup colors will work on you and also how to apply it correctly. Here's some of Carol's makeup instruction. To get a smooth texture when you're applying your makeup foundation, first dot the foundation on your nose, cheeks, chin, and forehead. Then take a natural sponge, making sure the sponge is only slightly damp, and wipe in a downward motion, starting with your nose, then cheeks and chin. Then wipe around the eyes, and on your forehead, draw the sponge from the middle to both sides of the hairline and down. Finally, Carol takes the clean end of the sponge and softens the jawbone area so that there is no makeup line. If you normally wear glasses like this model does, you'll need to use special makeup tricks to really bring your eyes out. Use a light-colored concealer cream and place it on the bridge of your nose and in the corners of your eyes. This will lift out the inside edges of the eyes where the glasses lay the heaviest. Then take your shadow and your eyeliner and contour and draw the heaviest attention to the outer edge of the eye. And so your cheek blush will show once your glasses are on. Move the blush upward from the tip of the cheekbone to the ear and hairline. Carol recommends you clean your makeup brushes once a month to keep unwanted bacteria away from your skin. Put a capful of woolite in a bowl of warm water, then swish the brush around and rinse in clear water. Always smell an eyeliner pencil before you buy it. If it smells waxy, that means that the pencil is old and it's going to bunch up when you're trying to line your eyes. Now, when you're finished with your beauty instruction, you'll get a step-by-step face map, and that way you can practice all the techniques that you've learned today. Up until recently, if you wanted an inexpensive haircut, you had to take a chance by going to a barber or beauty school. Well, with the discount boom hitting all spending fronts, we now have discount haircutting shops, and they're called the Cost Cutters. This is a no-frills hairstyling salon that employs only licensed beauticians. They don't take appointments, so you may have to wait. Have you ever tried to convince your stylist that you just shampooed your hair before you came into the shop? And wouldn't they just wet it down and not charge you for the whole style? Well, at the Cost Cutters, that's exactly how it works. If you shampoo your hair at home before you come into the shop, the stylist will wet your hair down and give you a haircut for $6. But if you want the Cost Cutters to do the shampoo and then get it cut and styled, it will cost $11. Now, most of the customers here do their own shampooing at home and get the bargain haircut for $6. I know you're probably thinking, I don't know if I want to take a chance on a bargain haircut. But what some people do is they send their kids in first because the price is so cheap, and then they end up coming back for a haircut themselves. Getting a massage is the ultimate step in treating yourself. This is Beatrice Piper, and she has been giving relaxation massages to women for 3 years. For $10, you can lay here for half an hour and have all your muscle tension rubbed away. Now, there's several different massage techniques, and a good masseuse will use a variety of combinations. When you're on the receiving end of a massage, it's important to remain relaxed and to breathe normally. Don't assist the masseuse in any way. Let them do the work. Now, you may want to give someone else a massage as a Christmas gift, and here's a few tips from Beatrice. Always warm the oil in your hands before putting it on the body. And when you're working an area of muscles, overlap the entire joint area. For example, when you're concentrating on the shoulders, also move beyond the shoulders and across the upper arms. If you need more oil, don't remove both hands to get it. You never want to break the connection with the person receiving the massage. Just keep one hand working on the body while the other hand reaches for the oil. If you want to rub faster, make your hand motions very light. And when you want to work deeper into a muscle area, rub slower. Believe it or not, the person receiving the massage is actually taking part in a mild form of exercise. Now, in a minute, I'm going to show you the proper oils to use.
Oh, look at that. Doesn't it look like it feels good?
Yes, it certainly does.
Let's find out if that feels good right here on Bob Bruce. How about it, huh?
Well, I don't know if we can totally do what was on the tape there, but we can...
No, we won't go that far. But anyway, Vicki has sent along some special oils here that we're going to try. Now, the best oil she tells me to try is the apricot or apricot, whatever you prefer. She says this is the primo stuff, folks, when you're giving a massage. About 50 cents an ounce this costs. So that your hand is worth at least a good 50 cents, but No, it's not, it doesn't. It really, it doesn't smell as apricot-y as well, let's try the almond. Now, this is the second choice. Vicky says this is choice number 2. Let's try the almond and see if we can get you to smell like a little amaretto. No, we're going to try this over. Move the. Is your watch oil-proof? Do you think?
I don't know, but we'll find out.
So. Does that feel good?
Certainly does. A little higher.
You know what? I can't smell almonds either. Can you smell it? But then
no,
I've
but
had
it
a
is
cold. But it feels good.
Good
Anyway,
stuff.
also, this comes from Garden of Eden. Vicky
Are you
tells
married?
me... Yeah, I am, by the way. Vicky tells
So am
me,
I, doggy.
don't use baby oil because this clogs your pores and it's not good for you. But,
I have heard that also. In fact, you know, my wife is pregnant. We're expecting a baby, and the baby oil is something you just don't use
No,
anymore.
you don't. It's
but
not...
this stuff is excellent. I have to take some of this home and massage her back.
Right.
She's having problems with her back.
The Garden of Eden has, 3 different locations in town, and give it a try if you like it, okay? You like it? Kind of fun?
How does it come off?
Well, it doesn't. It doesn't. I'll tell you what, we'll take a break and try to get the oil off Bob's hand and be right back with more good company. Stay tuned. Does that feel good? We'll travel to the town of Faribault on our Minnesota getaway.
And Gary Lumpkin, our field host, will give you tips on giving special holiday parties.
Coming up next, Kathleen Morris, the prosecuting attorney of the Cermak trial.
My late night snack, autographed by Kraft.
My cheese sauce, autographed by Kraft.
This is the natural cheese, autographed by Kraft with this seal, J.O. Kraft Select. Not all cheddars and Colbys earn it. Only those whose texture and taste meet J.O. Kraft standards. Famous since 1903.
My famous tacos, autographed by Kraft.
J.O. Kraft Select. Natural cheddars and Colbys, autographed by Kraft.
Anais, Anais. A fragrance awakening by Cacharel. For the moment that becomes a turning point. Anais, Anais brings a dream to life. Anais, Anais from Cacharel. At all fine department and specialty stores.
Madam, your diet soft drink.
Waiter, this isn't a diet soft drink. I don't taste that aftertaste.
Oh, sugar-free Dr. Pepper. Ow! Ow! Read the can!
I can't see it. Oh, what a surprise. The taste is gonna open your eyes. Sugar-free Dr. Pepper. Sugar-free Dr. Pepper. The taste is gonna open your eyes.
I'm a good cook. I can make a terrific pie crust anytime. But why should I bother? A Pet Ritz pie crust comes out perfect every time. Lets me spend more time being creative with the fillings. Look, the crust has as much shortening as homemade, so it bakes up tender and flaky every time. When I can get pie crust this great in my grocer's freezer, why fuss with my own? A Pet Ritz pie crust is perfect every time.
Welcome back. You know, the Cermak family trial was one of the most sensational trials involving sexual abuse of children in Minnesota history. Here is a short overview of the events that took place during some of those trials.
James Edward Cermak, age 26 of New Prague, and John Jerry Cermak, age 29 of Montgomery, Minnesota, are serving 40-year prison sentences apiece for the sexual abuse of children. Their wives, Jolene and Beverly, plea bargained for short jail terms in exchange for testimony against other family members. One of those members is grandfather Stanley Cermak, now serving a 19-year prison term for sexually abusing children. Grandmother Alice Cermak, the most recent member of the family to be tried, was found guilty of 13 criminal sexual conduct charges. All of the abused children are now in foster homes, each one undergoing extensive psychological therapy.
Obviously, the reactions of many people in our community were that of just total shock when they heard about the Cermak family trial and things that they don't normally think take place in their community. Well, the lady that played a very, very important role in the trial, of course, was the prosecuting attorney, and that is Kathleen Morris, and she is here with us today. Would you please welcome Kathleen Morris? Kathleen, it still is extremely hard to believe that that took place here, but I know it takes place here and all over the country. My first question has to be, how did you personally get involved in this trial?
Well, it happened back on about August the 7th of 1981 when a little boy, a 7-year-old in New Prague, came home and told his mama that a man by the name of Paul had asked him to join a game in a club where they had naked Indian wrestling and naked swimming, and had taken him into a portable toilet at a baseball field, pulled down his pants and taken a picture and tried to get him to let him take a massage. He went home and began to tell his mother. His mother immediately called the New Prague police, who immediately called me, and then we put into operation an investigation that led within one day to James Cermak, and therefore it just started rolling.
Did you find that during this whole process that many people who weren't intimately involved with the trial just could not believe that this actually was taking place?
Oh, I think lots of people didn't believe that it was taking place. I can still remember with some of the judges, as I put the pictures out to introduce them at the trial, they keep saying, but I don't believe it, I don't believe it. And I kept saying, but the pictures are there. I mean, this is the way it is. I think what people were saying is not necessarily that they didn't believe it, but that they didn't want to believe it.
Yeah. This whole trial attracted an awful lot of attention, and you had packed courthouses. Right. Were these people that came to just view the proceedings, were they your average citizens, or were they people who knew this family?
Well, there were both. There were people from the Lonsdale area, from the Montgomery area, from the Hastings area that came to Alexandria. I mean, there were people from all over. There were other people that just came to view it, different kinds.
Their reaction to it?
Well, I think a lot of them didn't want to believe it either. I think it was pretty obvious during the course of the trial that that's what happened, and these children, all they were up there doing was telling the truth, and they couldn't make up what they were telling happened to them.
Do you think that the sentences handed out, the type of trial that took place, will this be a deterrent to others?
Well, I hope it's a deterrent to others. I think people that abuse children are going to continue to abuse children. I think what's more important is that we hopefully have shown children that if they tell the truth, somebody's going to believe them and somebody's going to do something about it and not make them go back into that abusive situation.
Is this a difficult crime to prosecute in this state? Minnesota's laws as compared to other states. How tough are we on this type of offender?
No, I don't think the laws are any different. I think what's happened is prosecutors historically have wanted to try cases that they win. I mean, after all, county attorneys are elected, and you're elected because you're a tough prosecutor or you win cases or whatever. And sexual abuse, not just children, but any type of sexual abuse, has historically been a case that you can lose, so people don't prosecute them, you know. What's happening, I hope, is lots of prosecutors are saying, hey, that's not the point. You know, you prosecute something because it happened, not because you're going to win it and it's going to look better.
Are there organizations, I know for rape and many other traumatic crimes, there's all kinds of support organizations. Is there anything for child abuse, or is this something that simply not too many people talk about and there isn't a lot of concern in the community?
Well, I think there's a lot of concern in the community. I don't think you like to believe, and people don't like to talk about, that mama does nasty things to their daughters, or grandpa or even grandmas do dirty, nasty things to little children. You don't like to believe that happens, so you don't have the same kind of support, because usually you have children that are removed from the homes, and you have to build a support system outside the family unit. You know.
Were you surprised that you were successful in every one of these trials? You won convictions on everything you went after just about, didn't you?
Yeah. I don't think surprise was it. I just knew that it was important for the children to be able to tell adults what other adults had done to them, and it was important that they be believed. I believed them, and the police believed them, but what was important was that a judge and jury knew that they were telling the truth, and they weren't naughty. Mama was.
Before we move on and talk about what we can do to try to prevent these sort of things from happening to children, what has happened to the children in the Cermak trial? Is this going to affect them for the rest of their life? And what's being done to take care of those children?
Well, the children have been in therapy from the time they were removed from the home, as most children are in any abused case. I mean, that's just what happens. You continue to work with them. People are always worried about, my gosh, what's going to happen to them? What are their lives like now? Every day they spend out of that abuse situation is a better day than every day they spent for the last 10 years of their lives being sexually abused day after day. So anything's a plus at this point, because they aren't being hurt anymore.
Will they probably stay in the area?
Well, we really can't talk about that. They, as we learned in the Cermak trial, Alice's trial, 3 of the children's parental rights have been terminated, and they'll be placed in adoptive homes somewhere.
Just a moment, we'll come back and we'll talk to Dr. William Steele, a psychologist, about what we can do to prevent things from happening right after this.
You know that New Year's resolution you make every year? The one where you vow to lose the extra weight you're sick and tired of? Come on, you've fooled yourself long enough. Call Weight Loss Clinic before December 31st. And our $98 program is yours for only $49. 50% off on the program that shows you how to lose weight safely and keep it off. Think of it as a gift to yourself. A gift that'll last a lifetime.
La Belle's, where quality becomes affordable. La Belle's.
Turn to us for the names you can depend on, the prices you can feel good about. Like Kodak's newest Disc 4000 camera for compact photography with no waiting, automatic motorized film advance. Even automatic electric flash that turns itself on and off as you need it. The Kodak Disc 4000, beautifully priced at La Belle's.
La Belle's.
That's big, large, mean. Cookie, does this say New Wonder Soft 100% whole wheat? Appears too large. Well, if it's nice and soft, it can't be hearty, you little grub burner.
New Wonder Soft 100% whole wheat has softness you won't believe in a hearty wheat bread. No artificial preservatives.
Mmm, soft and hearty.
You, I wouldn't fool, Lars.
New Wonder Soft 100% whole wheat. Whole wheat hearty, Wonder Soft.
In this day and age, it's hard to make ends meet. With the kids in school, you may be wanting to go back to work, but finding a rewarding position takes training. And who has years to spend in school? Well, there's no need to. In less than a year, you can train to become a highly skilled medical or dental assistant.
Minnesota Institute of Medical and Dental Assistants Incorporated offers you that training. For full details, call for your free copy of the informative booklet, 3 Reasons Why. Call now, 374-2742.
We're talking about child abuse, which has been a topic of conversation all throughout our community since the Cermak family trial. Discussing this subject with us is Kathleen Morris, the prosecuting attorney of that trial, and also joining us Dr. William Steele, who is a psychologist with the Human Services of Scott County. And Doctor, I want to address a couple of questions to you that isn't one of the problems with this whole child abuse thing is the fact that the children really don't know how to report what's happening. They're afraid, or they just don't know how to stop what's happening.
That certainly is one of the problems, and it reflects the larger problem within the family. We don't know how to talk to children about sex. Adults have real difficulty talking to each other. Children learn within the family that if it's not okay to talk about sex, then you have no place to bring this information, so that they don't know what to do with it. And that can lead then to the child feeling that it's bad, and that maybe they're bad, and if that happens, then the child doesn't tell anybody, and the child begins to behave in a guilty kind of way because they've learned within the family it's not okay to talk about this.
How do parents, how do they teach their children to get away from this sort of situation if it starts to exist? Because it happens in all types of different instances, organizations, and not particularly as sensationalized as the Cermak family, surely, but it does happen in smaller instances.
Well, as I said, the best thing we can do for kids is to get our own heads straight and be honest with ourselves and be honest with kids. Give them the information so that they know that this can happen. In my experience, when you talk with people who've abused kids, you can't abuse a kid who knows what's going on. A child who is comfortable and knows what's happening can say no. And if something happens, they can talk about it.
And when we're talking about informing children about child abuse and how to stay away from strangers, what ages are we talking about? We're not talking about 8 or 9 years old here, are we?
Certainly not. This has to be part of what's going on in a family from the time a child is born. Some of the basic attitudes that we learn happen to us as infants. We learn the basic trust of other human beings. These kinds of things happen very early. To begin to actually address how you deal with strangers and what you would do in these kinds of situations, as kids ask questions, if you just will follow what the kid is asking about, Children are inquisitive. They'll ask about things. Give them information that they can handle as they ask questions, so that they begin to develop the skills to deal with all kinds of situations.
June, you have a question in the audience?
Yes, we sure do. Do you have a question for either Kathleen Morris or Dr. Steele?
Yeah, I'd like to ask Ms. Morris, I'm wondering how your involvement in this trial as a prosecuting attorney has affected your life personally.
Well, I think it's affected my life personally. I probably have learned that I have some of the greatest parents in the world. I really have learned to appreciate my mother and dad an awful lot. Just appreciate what a neat life I had and how sad it is for so many kids.
And we've got another question up here, if I can get you to stand up.
Okay. Yes, I'm wondering, has any psychiatric intervention been planned for the adult Cermacs?
Psychiatric intervention's been planned for all the adult Cermacs.
I have a question. This is something that cuts across all lines, doesn't it? Doesn't happen to any particular social or economic group of people.
Oh, no, it doesn't. I think this is what people used to believe. It was people that were less educated, that were lower income. It's not true at all. Sexual abuse, child abuse occurs in every family, regardless of the income, regardless of their educational background.
I know a lot of people find that shocking. You have a question?
Yeah, well, he stole my question, but I got a different one.
Okay.
Do these kids go to public schools or any kind of school at all? And if they do, what is the other children's, attitude towards them?
Oh, the peer group reaction. That's got to be very, very frightening for some of these children.
All the children go to school. They've gone to school from the very beginning. They go to school under different names. No one knows who they are. They're just little kids going to school like any other child.
Dr. Steele, earlier Bob asked you about warning our own children. It is a difficult thing to do, though, if you are especially concerned about your child becoming paranoid about this subject. And how do you approach this without scaring them too much?
Again, it's hard to be real specific with a child. You don't want to scare a child. You don't want to exaggerate the dangers. You want to give the child a good base of information to work from so that when something begins to go wrong, if you remember when Kathleen talked about how this first came up, it was a youngster who could go home and tell his parents what happened. It's the basic lines of communication within a family. If they're open, they'll work. The child will have the defense. You don't have to be real specific, be careful, somebody's going to hurt you. It falls into line with the basic safety that we give every youngster. Watch the traffic, do this, don't get involved with strangers. And you can always then come back and talk to your family. There are people that care for you and believe you. The danger is that a child will become isolated and not feel that it has the resources to talk to. When we go into schools and do some educational kinds of things, once or twice we'll find kids who have things they want to talk about but don't have adults to talk to that trust them. And that's the key. If you just open and listen to the youngsters and believe what they're telling you, and listen to them in their language. They don't use adult language. So you have to be very alert to if they tell you the next door neighbor was doing something funny. Don't pass that off. Ask, funny, how do you mean funny? And be very alert to their feelings, and if they feel bad, probe a little deeper. It's more the adults listening than it is what we have to say to children.
Is it true that the typical child abuser is someone who was abused as a child?
That is typical, but other things can happen too. But it tends to be a pattern that is learned within families and is passed on from generation to generation.
Doctor, and also Kathleen, the children that are abused, the long-term effects, will they in turn, I know some people who abuse children through beating them, sometimes those children grow up and they do that same thing to their own children. Does this happen with child abuse?
Sure. Any pattern that you learn within your family is the skills that you will use as an adult, so that it can go on in that kind of way.
But what you do is when you can finally stop it and you can teach a child that, hey, we're not going to let that happen anymore, then that child learns that if they become loved, then they can learn to love in a different way and not abuse.
Will the Cermak family trial finally wake up some parents who before now were very afraid to tell their children anything? Do you think it will snap them out of it?
Oh, I hope so. If nothing else, I hope it's taught children that if they tell the truth, they'll be protected, and I hope it's taught adults that, by gosh, tell children what's honestly out there. Don't play games about a boogeyman somewhere.
If you know of a child who's being abused, or you want some questions, you want to find out what is happening, I have a number for you in Scott County, 445-7750, and that's for reporting child abuse and for some information on referral, where you can turn to find some answers. That's number 445-7750. Doctor, thank you very much for joining us, and Kathleen, wonderful job. Thank you.
Thank you.
This week on Good Company, Friday, Barbara Holmes, our Soap Talk reporter, meets Palmer Cortland of All My Children.
And also on Friday, we'll see highlights of President Lincoln's visit to the Twin Cities.
But coming up next, June Lindsay introduces us to a mountain woman from Idaho. Join us.
Oh, no! My greatest pair of jeans! Total!
So wear another pair.
Oh, Grandma, you just don't understand.
Okay, if they're that great, don't use that. Try bleach. Use Clorox 2 All Fabric Bleach.
Is it better?
Nothing's better for getting colors their cleanest.
But this mustard's a mess.
Clorox 2 is strong enough to get out that tough stain. No other dry bleach can beat it. Come on.
To get colors their cleanest, nothing beats the strength of Clorox 2.
Wow, Clorox 2's great.
Now that I understand.
I'm not inconsiderate. I know my cigarette or cigar smoke irritates my family, and it smells bad, too. That's why I went out and bought Ronco's portable smokeless ashtray. It filters out irritating smoke, allowing my family to breathe cleaner, fresher-smelling air. Velcro fastener secures the portable smokeless ashtray to prevent it from moving.
This Christmas, show you really care. Give smokeless ashtrays by Ronco. They make fabulous Christmas gifts.
At these fine stores.
When it comes to absorbency, Viva's more than a paper towel. Watch. To be precise, it's a paper sponge. It may sound incredible, but Viva absorbs as much as this sponge. So Viva can sponge up your sloppiest spills, sponge up your drippiest drips. Incredibly absorbent Viva, the paper towel that's really a paper sponge.
Introducing the new GE microwave ovens.
My new GE microwave is big enough to cook a 12-pound turkey or a whole meal.
The dual wave system is designed to distribute energy from the top and the bottom, so food cooks evenly.
And touch control models come with a 5-year limited warranty.
The new GE microwave ovens with the dual wave microwave system.
Big enough to cook a whole meal.
Available at Koval Furniture and Appliance, Minneapolis, and Kramer Brothers, Newport.
Welcome back. This hat is one of the most sought-after items by farmers in over 50 cities. And what it says is Country Day, which is a program that you can see right here on KSTP early in the morning. But it's also in over 50 cities, and one of the main stars of that program just happens to be June Lindsay. Now, folks, if you look at her now, she looks like a nice, pretty, very sophisticated, she's just an old country girl at heart, actually. Actually, she wears cowboy boots and blue jeans 90% of the time, but for us, she dressed up. June,
I enjoy it.
I have always envied your job on Country Day because you get to travel everywhere. You get to milk cows and go out on the farm and do things.
I
and
don't milk cows. You know what, though? I do have a good time. Well, this summer, for instance, I went to Michigan and I caught my very first fish. The first fish I ever caught was a 20-pound salmon. And it went, listen to all the guys. They're going, oh. Have you ever caught a fish that big? It was incredible. It took me 30 minutes to reel it in.
I certainly have caught a fish that big, but I've been over on Lake Michigan trout fishing,
great.
which is excellent. But you do get a chance to see some things that folks like myself who are raised in the city and live in the city that we don't often see.
Well, that's wonderful. That's the best part of my job, is getting to meet people from all over the nation, all over the country, and they are incredible people, these country people.
What's some of the more unusual people that you've met? I know there's so many to list, but there has...
I met one guy who built a miniature town in his backyard. It's a replica of his hometown, and it's just incredible. And I met a woman in West Virginia who plays a banjo made out of car parts, and she has no running water or electricity. And I met another woman that I'm going to show you right now. Her name is Imogene. We call her Imogene from Idaho, and she's a very special woman. Meet Imogene from Idaho, a country original, a lady who can take care of herself, thank you. You don't meet many like Imogene these days, so when she invites you to sit on the back porch for a spell, you take her up on it.
You do lots of things the old-fashioned way, don't you, Imogene?
Practically. In fact, don't I look kind of old-fashioned myself?
That's not a bad way to look. I tell you, what do you think sometimes when you go in the big city?
Well, you know, girl, I've never been in a big city.
Oh, really?
I never have. You've been in Louisville?
Imogene never needed the city. She's always lived in the mountains of central Idaho. You could say she's self-sufficient. Friends and neighbors supply her with the staples she can't produce in exchange for gifts from her garden. Practically all her food is homegrown, and a tour of her garden is enough to convince you Imogene won't starve. She knows how to grow food.
I spent a lifetime at it, so I should know how to do something.
Oh, I guess
After all, I'm not a spring chicken.
She enjoys showing off her unusual varieties of fruits, vegetables, nuts, and grapes. And oh yes, she grows carrots. My carrots never grow this well.
I'll see if I can pull them
I
out.
always get ones about the size of my thumb.
They're so hard to pull. I don't know. Whether I'll get it or not. It's way, way down there. I think it's a big one if I can just get it out. There.
Oh, that's a carrot. Imogene says she understands why large farmers use pesticides, but they're not for her. She prefers things kept simple, even her food. She uses a root cellar that her late husband built, and it's stocked with her home canned fruits and vegetables. Imogene's root cellar looks like a work of art. But her food isn't the only evidence of her natural approach to country living. She raises cats, lots of them, to help her fight mice. Inside, more evidence of old-style country living, an antique handmade quilt, and her own homemade soap flakes. Imogene's not the type to take modern-day conveniences for granted.
Well, we only had electricity. Let's see, we moved down here in 1966, and we got electricity about 10 years before we moved down here. So you see, most of my life I've gone without electricity.
Was that a hard way to live, Imogene?
Well, it is in lots of ways. If you're used to it, you don't think anything about it because you don't know any different. But when you learn to know better, oh, I'll tell you, it was wonderful when we got a good old gasoline washing machine. Oh, and we didn't have to wash on the board anymore. That was something. But do you know we still have our old washboard? Because
judging from her canned huckleberries and apricots, Imogene doesn't need much modern-day living. She does just fine all on her own. And her advice to young farm wives of today, do what you can on your own. Make your family as self-sufficient as possible.
It's nice in having a hobby for a farm wife that you can do something that helps on the living, too.
In central Idaho, June Lindsay for Country Day. A very, very special woman, a vanishing breed, too. You will not find many people these days who, she didn't know what a TV camera was. She didn't know what a TV was.
We're talking carrots.
Fascinating. Yeah, that was a carrot. I'm Imogene from Idaho. We're going to take a break and be right back with more good company. Stay with us.
Small-town, homegrown, made the way you'd make your own pizza. Tombstone.
It's a ladle on and loaded up with lots of mozzarella on the pizza. Tombstone. We pile on the goodness. We're loaded with real cheese. We're sure the taste of Tombstone's gonna please your family. We're a small-town, homegrown, made the way you make your own pizza. Tombstone. Made the way you'd make your very own. Tombstone.
More than 400 million Playmobil people have provided kids the world over with good creative fun. Playmobil sets encourage kids 4 and over to use their imaginations for hours of quiet play. Here's an extra reason to introduce your children to Playmobil, this free Indian set worth $8. Mail the end flap from any Playmobil set costing $8 or more with your address and store receipt to the address on the fun guarantee. Playmobil. Your little people will love our little people.
At Poppin' Fresh, our pies are legendary, but we know that man does not live on pie alone.
Pop, 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 Poppin' Fresh, Poppin' Fresh.
Now Poppin' Fresh has a fresh new menu brimming with new ideas. You can't get fresher than Poppin' Fresh.
Together, all these room air cleaners cost more than $150. Norelco, Pollinex, Rushhampton, Remington, and Robeson. This is Clean Air by Ronco. Watch how the Ronco beats them all. All 5 against Ronco. After 3 minutes of removing smoke, Ronco wins easily. Over $150 worth of machines can't beat Clean Air by Ronco. Get the one that beats them all. Clean Air by Ronco.
At these fine stores.
You know, last week, Burton White, who is a childhood educational psychologist, was in town. And, you know, Steve and Sharon knew that Bob would be hosting this week. So Sharon had a chance to interview him. And she asked him about a baby's early years of development. So just for you, Bob, here comes some advice from Dr. Burton White.
Dr. White, we're going to be talking about the development of a child from birth up to 3 years old. Now, when a baby first comes out, what's on its mind?
Peace.
Peace?
Peace and quiet. It just wants to be left alone.
Really?
I really get a kick out of people who say your brand new baby is going to love you, is going to be full of interest in exploring the world and learning and all. All a baby wants in the first 3 or 4 weeks is to be quiet, well-fed, warm, and left alone. That's all.
And that's the one time in life when they're probably handled the most.
Well, they do get a lot of handling, which is, by the way, very, very good for them.
It
They're
is.
designed to be picked up and loved and cuddled. But if you're looking for great responsiveness and true love coming out of the eyes, you're going to have to wait a little while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So pretty much, what's your advice then to parents of newborns? Pick them up a lot.
Yeah.
Feed them when they're hungry.
And don't expect too much. You know, it's a little bit like a marriage. Just take what you get and be happy about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's go back a bit then. We were talking about newborns up to the age of about 6 weeks.
Well, 6 weeks, yes. Actually, from 3 weeks or so on, they begin to start to perk up during the day. But it's sometime in the middle of the 2nd month. It's as if somebody flips a switch and says, okay, kid, it's time to get on with it.
To explore?
Yeah, and they suddenly become bright-eyed, big-eyed. And the amount of time they spend during the day wide awake stretches dramatically in just a 2-week period.
Huh.
And there are 2 interesting things that happen then that signify, that symbolize the next month or 2. One is they start to really smile at you in these wonderful, big, unconditional smiles. And the other is they start looking at this thing. This hand has been out there like this, and generally at 5 or 6 weeks of age, they look blind. It goes right through the line of sight, nothing happens. But one day, if you watch them around 7 or 8 weeks of age, this happens. Fist goes by, and the kid goes, you know?
And realizes that the fist is part of its body?
No,
or
not
just
right
sees the
away. They're
fist?
just curious. They see it for the first time fairly well.
Oh.
Vision develops a little slowly in the first weeks. And from then on, in the weeks that follow, they spend more and more time keeping this thing in view. And then, interestingly, when the child gets to be 9 or 10 weeks of age, instead of a fist, you'll see fingers once in a while. See, for the first 2 months, they keep their hands mostly fisted. But from 2.5 months or so on, they don't do that anymore. And coincidentally, and somebody orchestrated this brilliantly, eyesight gets clear enough to be able to make out the details of the fingers at about the same time. And then by the time they're 5 months old, they're using this thing very skillfully to reach out and grab things and bring it in.
So what's advice for parents then from ages 2.5 months to 5 when they're discovering their hands and beginning to see?
Well, one of the key things that relates to that particular interest is provide things for them to actually practice on. This is when the crib gyms and toys of that sort. But this is also a time socially when the child is really beginning to invest very heavily in becoming a person and learning about people. So that at 2 months, the first signs are smiling a lot. And this, of course, is designed to make somebody start to fall in love with you.
I see.
Those smiles are very hard to resist.
They mean something
gorgeous,
at this point.
Yeah, but they don't mean anything personal. Interestingly, you can get just as big smiles out of a pen and ink sketch of a human's face as the mother can with her own face and voice.
Oh, I don't think moms want to hear that.
All right, well, don't let anybody...
No, they want to think
let
it's
them
them.
know. We won't tell them. But by 4 months of age, the baby develops to the point where the mother and father's face and voice is more powerful in getting smiles than anything else in the world.
At 4 months.
But it takes about 7 or 8 weeks of experience.
Okay.
You know, learning to associate comforting and feeding with the face, voice, and smell of the older person.
And then we just have a minute left, but what would be the next phase after that?
How are we going to get through
then?
to the third birthday?
Oh, gee, I don't know.
I don't think we can do it.
Can we do just the next phase?
The next phase?
Yeah.
Okay. Once the child has singled out the parent, they then spend the period from about 4 months, 3.5, 4 months on to 7 months being incredibly adorable. Incredibly adorable.
Despite themselves.
Anybody who goes by them is likely to get a big, big smile. It's an amazing time of life. And the reason seems to be that once they get to be 7 or 8 months of age, they're going to get to be in an awful lot more trouble than they were before that.
So they have to be endearing at this point?
Absolutely. This is a kind of, let's nail it down. Once you commit to me, then I can go on and do my thing after 7 months.
People talk about the terrible twos. Now, what is going on during the terrible twos?
That we think we now understand. The child 2.5 years of age who's throwing tantrums is a kid who has never learned that other people are just as important as he is.
Well, can you teach that before a child
Absolutely.
gets to be 2?
You have to, because once you get into 2.5, you're dealing with a terror. You have to start from 8, 9 months on, teaching the child that she is special, but no more so than anybody else in the world. Sounds contradictory, but it isn't.
Mm-hmm.
And then by the time they're 2, they become reasonable again. They're not testing you as they do in the second half of the second year, and you're living with a delightful, nice person.
So you shouldn't have tantrums by the time they're
You don't.
2.
There's no reason to have them. If you have them, you weren't tough enough up till that time.
Okay, let me reach in front of you here and mention to people that there's a lot more information about what we've been talking about in both of Dr. White's books. This is The First 3 Years of Life, which is the first one. It's become a classic at this point. And you have another book out now, A Parent's Guide to the First 3 Years, and it looks like this. Thank you for being with us.
You're welcome.
Always fascinating information.
Oh, Dr. White is so good. I have all of his books at home. Did you listen carefully now, Bob?
It's you know, it's going to be happening
nervous.
here
Can
in the
you
next
tell?
couple of weeks, so I really, in the last couple of days, am starting to get nervous about all this, and it's rather awesome. There's a lot of responsibility.
Did you hear him? You can draw a picture of a face smiling, and
I'm going to put a TV right in his crib.
There
so
you
he
go.
can watch me at night.
That's Daddy. Watch the sportscast. Can you change a diaper?
Who knows? He probably turned the channel. I don't know.
But can you change a diaper?
Well, we haven't really practiced that. In the
You can
parenting
practice
classes,
at my house.
we didn't do that. But I think I'm going to have a lot of chances to get
I
into
think
that.
so,
But I am
too.
a little frightened. I must admit, I am a little frightened about it, by it all.
Oh.
But I think it's going to be a wonderful experience.
You'll love it. Trust me, you'll love it. We'll take a break and be right back. Stay tuned.
Every time I breathe, I thank Oster. My new Oster electronic air cleaner electronically helps clean the air in my home. It helps remove pollutants up to 500 times smaller than inexpensive air fresheners and purifiers. Dust, tobacco smoke, pollen, mold spores, pet and cooking odors, even formaldehyde from insulation. We all get great results with Oster, and I do a lot less dusting.
At Co-op Shopping Center, Eau Claire in Menominee, Fandle, St. Cloud.
Nino, no fresh baked pizza from Chef Saluto comes in a pan.
So?
The pan has a hose.
Big deal.
The hose let the heat through so the crust bakes even and crisp like yours.
Sure, like mine.
The hose helps Chef Saluto pizza taste like fresh. Aren't you worried?
Nino worry.
Okay.
New fresh baked pizza. The fresh tasting pizza from Chef Saluto.
I have to admit it's frustrating having a bladder control problem.
Because my real problem is finding the protection I need.
You need Depend for discreet, effective protection. Like this Depend undergarment. With a form-fitting shape and advanced absorbent system, Depend puts protection where it's most effective. Try regular or extra absorbency for bladder control problems.
The name says it all.
Depend at drug and healthcare stores.
American Travel Service, their number 612-835-5151. Dee Larson, American Travel Service, invites you to join her famous Sunrise Hawaiian tour, now being formed, for 14 days, 13 nights, 15 meals included, February 16th through March 1st. Enjoy all the extras. Get all the facts. Call now and have Dee Larson's free Sunrise Hawaiian tour brochure sent to you with no obligation. Call now for Sunrise Hawaii, American Travel Service, 835-5151. Out of town, call collect.
Our next guest spent a year photographing the Boundary Water Canoe area, and he really captured the spirit and the beauty of northern Minnesota. There went my earring, by the way. Somewhere, catch the other one before it goes, too. Jerry Stebbins is a photographer who is really talented, and he has produced a gorgeous book about the Boundary Water Canoe area. That must have been enjoyable, but what compelled you to do that, to spend a whole year up north doing these photos?
Well, it wasn't a year. It was throughout a year. It was 4 months, actually, about 4 months of time. But the reason I did it was I'd spent a lot of time in Canada before doing this book, doing photography, nature photography, on and off for about 3 years in the Northwest Territories. So I wanted to do something a little bit closer to home, and nobody at that time had done a book on the Boundary Waters, especially a picture book. So that was the reason I did it. It was sort of a commercial idea at first, but after I spent some time with the Boundary Waters, then I really realized how special a place it was. And
it is special, and it's really nice to claim some of the most beautiful countryside as our own.
Yes, it is. It's the only place of its like this in the United States, the canoe wilderness, the waterway wilderness.
Well, we're going to take a look at a special videotape, and we have taken some shots from his book on the Boundary Water Canoe area. Take a look at Jerry Stebbins' work. Little sound there, but gorgeous. Did you have any trouble with the elements? I noticed a lot of winter shots there, and it gets cold up there. I've been there, I know.
I camped out one night, and well, it was 2 days and then one night, and the warmest it got was 20 below zero during the day.
Goodness,
and
that's
so
chilly.
it was, yeah, it's cold. Huh?
Well, I know that you formed a lot of feelings about that part of the country, and you have some strong feelings about some of the threats that you perceive.
Yeah, the first one and the most important one is acid rain, and everybody knows what that is, but it's I'm not sure that you know how important it is to stop it. It's a combination of from coal and from cars, the effluents that are coming out, the sulfur oxide and the nitrous oxide. When they get in the upper atmosphere and they combine with oxygen and hydrogen and water, it forms sulfuric acid. And that just floats around the country, and when it decides to rain, it falls and
Big threat to the BWCA?
Yeah, I'd say if it's not controlled real soon, like right away, in 10 to 20 years, a lot of lakes will be dead. That means no fish life at all.
Anything else that concerns you?
The other issues, yeah, there's logging and mining, and that's more or less the commercial exploitation.
That's going on in a big way, do you think?
But that was part of the 1978 Boundary Waters Canoe Area Wilderness Act, and that prevents any of that going on in the Boundary Waters. But it's always something that seems to reoccur. There's always another fight, you know, to maintain that as a protected area.
Oh, let's hope it does. And I want to show you a picture of his book, Boundary Waters. And it would make a nice Christmas present. I think my father-in-law, I hope he's not watching, he might get this for Christmas. It has some really pretty pictures in it of our gorgeous BWCA. I understand you're going to be at Dayton's, downtown Minneapolis, and St. Paul on Saturday, the 11th. 2:30 in Minneapolis, if I understand that correct, right? Autographing books? Great. If you want to have a chance to meet Jerry Stebbins in person, find out more about the BWCA in northern Minnesota. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you.
And good luck with the book. We're going to take a break and be right back with Bob, so stay tuned.
For the merriest gift ideas at really low prices, no one puts it together like Target. Learning can be fun with Texas Instrument learning aids. Speak and Spell teaches kids over 200 useful words. Speak and Read helps kids with basic reading skills. Speak and Math teaches over 100,000 addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division problems. Each just $54.99. And with TI's mail-in rebate, your final cost is just $39.99. This Christmas, shop and save at Target.
Whatever you want in a shirt, Arrow's got it. For classic style and fit, Arrow's got your shirt. Arrow button-downs, Arrow stripes, Arrow knits. If you're more adventurous, Arrow's got your shirt. A lean, mean fit, or regular fit, in hot new colors, punched up plaids, bold new looks. Arrow shirts, worn by half the men in America and reaching for the rest.
At all Dayton stores.
Get ready. Here come my hot ones. Hank makes measuring effortless with this Stanley tape measure. It reaches 10 feet, and the power return makes measuring a snap. Just $3.99. Your holiday serving will be really special with this earthenware chrome tray. It's big enough to hold plenty of your favorite treats, and it's only $3.99. You'll find lots more great buys in this month's flyer during Hank's holiday savings sale.
You've got a lot more going for you with Hank.
At participating Hardware Hank stores.
With Hank.
Good afternoon. This is Dennis Bounds with an Eyewitness News Brief. The latest on those two people who have been threatening to blow up the Washington Monument in Washington, D.C. is that they have released 9 hostages and have resumed a vigil at the base of the historic monument. Governor-elect Perpich is taking some heat on the political appointments he's made so far. Local FHA officials say they are processing a record number of applications for home loans, and our cold weather is going to get colder. These stories and more on Eyewitness News at 5 o'clock.
We are back, and Renee Mueller is with us. She's going to tell us about a very special toy drive and Christmas party coming up.
We're having a toy drive December 11th and 12th at our high school, Alexander Ramsey. We're trying to raise some toys and some money for a Christmas party we have for underprivileged children.
Oh, great. When is that going to be?
Our Christmas party is the 16th of December.
And who's we? You keep saying we.
Our Vicar Club.
Oh, great. Give yourself a hand. Good job there. When is that going to be again?
December 16th, but our toy drive is the 11th and 12th of this Saturday and Sunday.
Well, how can people donate?
If they want to stop by our school from 12 to 6, we'll be sitting out in the parking lot waiting for them.
12 to 6 when?
Saturday and Sunday.
Saturday and Sunday. And what school again?
Alexander Ramsey. It's about 3 blocks east of Rosedale.
All right. I've heard of it. I know where you're talking about. Good luck with that, Bob.
Thanks, June. Let's talk about coming attractions. What's coming up on Good Company? And tomorrow we'll meet restaurant critic Carla Waldemar. She'll give us the best 10 restaurants in the Twin Cities. That should be interesting.
Oh, that does sound like a good one. Also, we're going to go to Faribault on our Minnesota getaway. But actually, I shouldn't say we're going to go to
That's
Faribault,
right.
Actually, Jolene Benoit and Gary Lumpkin will be here.
That's right, and Gary Lumpkin will be giving us some holiday party ideas for this festive month with a lot of parties. And June, thanks for all the help the past 2 days. Couldn't have done it without you.
Thank you for you helping me. It's been a lot of fun. Nice.
And thanks to you for being with us here on Good Company.
Yeah. See you later. Bye-bye.
It's holiday open house at Lindale Garden Center. Register for free prizes. See Twin Cities' largest display of Mountain King Christmas trees and save 20 to 60% at Lindale.
So fresh out of